Welcome to episode 7 of Downwind Diaries. This is our long form content series that we put together talking about surf ski paddling, and I've got a good friend and compatriot that we've done a couple of tours together, Ben Maynard, all the way from Tasmania in Australia, out in South Africa for the ICF Surf Ski World Champs. He brought a couple of athletes out and are actually managing the Australian team here at Worlds. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks very much, Barry. Yeah, it's great to finally be here. I think I told you that I've had this date or this week on my fridge at home for 33 weeks, and actually have it all unfolding is terrific. Yeah, having a great time here, and I'm here wearing quite a few hats. I think you are too, and we're both having some quite busy days.
Yeah, it's been great too. Just the vibe around the venue here at Durban Underwater Club DC has been electric, with paddlers arriving from around the world, the different languages and cultures, and everyone coming together for surf ski paddling. It's just almost like a Mardi Gras festival of paddling, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We've had some great paddles. I just want to start from scratch, Ben. We've done a couple of Mauritius tours together, but I want to talk to you a bit about where you come from, a bit about your paddling history, and kind of what brought you here today. So let's start. How did you get into paddling?
Well, 30 years ago, I signed up for an Activities Week program at my local high school. It involved whitewater kayaking. It involved a lot of cold water, and I actually hated it. So after that week, I swore I'd never going to do it again. And then the next year, I found myself signing up for the same program. So, I gradually grew to love the sport. And by 16, 17, I was paddling wild water. I was travelling to New Zealand and Europe, which I did from the late 90s all the way through to 2010 as an athlete, travelling around doing World Cups and World Championships, and I learnt to paddle rough water that way. After that, I tried to distance myself from the sport for a few years, but I ended up coaching people. And at that stage, I'd also got into the ocean ski paddling, which was absolutely booming at the time. And saltwater paddling, and specifically ocean ski paddling, became the focus of my coaching, and then that drew me in as a competitor as well. So on the back of that, I've set up a business called Next Level Kayaking, which is a paddle sports business involving retail and coaching. And that's been going for 15 years, around about the same time as that transition from freshwater to saltwater.
So we've chatted through this year quite extensively about your preparations for Worlds, but tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've done leading up to Worlds. I know that you've had a couple of inter-Australian trips as events, as well as a trip to Mauritius. Tell me a bit about your prep.
Well, basically, when I look back at my whitewater days, I figured out that most of the big events that I'd done were more about coping mechanisms than they were about the preparation. So everyone tries to prepare to the best of their ability, and I have a really good understanding how to physically prepare and how to technically prepare. But I've actually tried to make my preparation as uncomfortable as possible and as varied as possible, and put myself in situations where I need to cope with limited resources, because I'm a long way from home. I'll give you an example of something that's already happened this week in a minute, that I need to cope, and I think this week is not going to unravel like a textbook for anybody here. You're very lucky if it does, and so I've tried to challenge myself. I've tried to ask myself what my least favourite session was and then double it. I've tried to travel around a little bit and get into some environments where I might meet some conditions that make me uncomfortable, such as heat, such as big waves, such as a combination of groundswell and wind wave that is hard for me to access at home. I have to travel to those areas or get lucky. So that's what personally I've tried to do. In lots of ways, I've asked myself the same really hard questions that I would ask our paddlers at home. I am known as a pretty hard but fair coach, and I do get the best out of paddlers by exposing them and stripping everything back and getting rid of all the excuses and saying, what is your weakness? Let us work on that, and that's going to elevate everything else. At a certain stage, we figure out what the weaknesses are, we work on those weaknesses, and that progresses you. It progresses you off the water as well as on the water. So I've tried to ask myself those honest and direct questions. What are the missing pieces with my saltwater paddling? I've identified a lot of those weaknesses from coming over to Mauritius and coaching in that environment. It's a great environment to be a paddler and receive tuition in. It's a great environment for a coach to learn in as well. So I've tried to pick apart at some of my own paddling through those situations. I've gone to the Gold Coast this year as well. And now I'm here, and I don't feel completely comfortable here, but I feel that that's been a situation that's been recreated lots and lots of times in 2025.
I actually really like your analogy that you spoke about there of we grow the most when we are the most uncomfortable. And it's one of the cool concepts that we do approach in Mauritius. Most people arriving on the island see wind swell, a lot of the waves break directly on the reef and you can't see the reef passes, and after a day they're a hell of a lot more relaxed when they see that the pass is 400 meters wide. And but I do agree that with the analogy of that we grow the most when you're the most uncomfortable. Tell me a little bit about specifically some of the athletic prep. Not many people would go and spend 33 weeks prepping for a day. And a little bit about dedication and some of the sacrifice to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with investing a long time in preparation for one particular day through whitewater, and I realise it's a process where you put all your chips on red, but it is a familiar process, and I don't look at it like the end goal. I look at it that if you embark on that process as a paddler, there are lots of little milestones along the way, and the whole experience here, you look back on those things for years and years and years to come, and I have 3 decades of looking back on those experiences, and they are really rich experiences, and you cannot recreate them. They are extremely hard to capture outside of immersing yourself in a preparation like that. So I think a preparation like that is you look at it as self-improvement. You're trying to look at it as self-improvement rather than the end goal. And, you know, by and large, if you're prepared well, you're probably going to race well. By and large, no one out there in the top 50 is going to make a huge level of mistakes. There'll be some ups and downs on the day, but at the end of the day, I would like to look back on those 33 weeks and go, wow, I think I'm a better paddler. I think I can then be a better coach with what I've learned as a paddler. And I think I've put myself in a position to make some of those lifetime memories, which really fill our cups. And I think what everyone's getting out of this week, where we've got more than 500 single surf skis here, all their entourage and all this environment around, you're filling your cup, I'm filling my cup. It's the interactions with other people where you might help somebody load their boat. They might come in and their boat might be loose in the shore break and you've been going and scooping those up. Everyone's been getting around each other, asking each other questions, bouncing off each other. And I think, you know, at your age and my age, we really savour those experiences because we know that we've had a lot of them in the past. But here are the worlds on your doorstep. Here I am representing Australia on and off the water, and they just really, everyone is filling their cup here, and it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I think it's and quite an electric atmosphere with all the paddlers, and I certainly have an immense amount of internal value in creating environments where people thrive, and I think you do too. We've got a common mindset on helping people, and it's been really cool. So South African Surf Ski have put on a hospitality package. We've got 17 paddlers in 3 seconds that have come on and signed up to do our package. A couple of paddlers from Hong Kong that have never seen surf before that have really coped well. We did a great downwind today to Durbanview, and guys have never seen those types of conditions before, and through some of the coaching we've been able to help them along their journey, and that's super rewarding.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun in the process. I think it's been a great trip so far. Obviously the conditions are quite different here to some of the other places that you've paddled. Probably more similar to Mauritius than home. How have you found the first sort of weekend or couple of days in Durban?
Yeah, I found it fantastic being part of your crew and helping out with the mentoring and the coaching, and adding some value to these 20 or so multinational paddlers that we have here. That's been extraordinary. Look, my first impressions were that there's no shortage of wind. There's really no shortage of energy out there on a flat day, but we have also had great downwind conditions. We got out yesterday and we went down to Todi. We got out today and we went up to Umhlanga in the Westbrook direction, and looking at the forecast for this area many months out, it's quite clear that you're spoilt for choice with the wind. You have areas where you can escape the shore break, and we're here in a very benign spot for starts and finishes if that's what you want to do. You're confronted with shore break at the end of some of these downwind runs. The actual downwind runs are great. They don't need a lot of wind to work. You're doing some fairly fast splits on minimal wind, and they are just fun. You have a really good climate. The environment's good. Travelling from Australia, we find we're getting good value for money against your rand, of course, like a lot of countries would be. And so look, I'm probably here for 4 reasons. I'm here to manage the Australian team, or the selected Australian team. I'm here to help with your crew that you've put together in the lead up to this event. So I'm here as a competitor. I'm here as a tourist. Me and my partner are going to spend a week soaking up Africa to the north of here at the end of this, but I'm also here for a 5th reason, and that is to potentially create another collaborative tour with you and bring people from Australia or Tasmania over here. And I'm looking at with those eyes, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I love your culture, I love your history, trying to untangle all of that. I love the idea of being here on the continent of Africa. I've never been to Africa. So yeah, my mind's racing with possibilities.
Well, Ben and I have done 2 years worth of Mauritius tours together, and what I can say is his preparation has put him in a great stead for the race this weekend. And as a friend, I'm super excited for you. You really are the best version of yourself at the moment, and to see the prep pay off is a really cool thing. And one of the messages I'd love to see is all of those guys that have entered the race this week just to have a lot of fun. Happy paddler race as well. And I think for the largest part this week, we've just been seeing smiling faces.
Yeah. And
how cool is that a paddling community, I don't believe that surf paddling as a sport can exist without that community. There's paddlers from around the world interacting with each other, and a highlight for me having all of these paddlers in my hometown is that I get to show them around, and obviously we love home, but how they're interacting with each other has been a key component. And it's so cool as a marginalized sport, as a Cinderella sport, that community can be the backbone of what we do. It's really, really exciting for me. And my wish for everyone racing worlds this week is just be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. We're looking forward to a great race. Thanks for tuning in to episode 7 of Downwind Diaries.
Well, hang on, just before you wrap things up, I just want to thank you for the effect that you've had on my personal paddling over the last few years, and also the paddlers that I've brought to you. It's been phenomenal. You've helped me, you've mentored me as a paddler and as a coach. And I just thought I would perhaps, if I may, ask you a question.
Go, I love it.
How you've actually prepared for the Worlds, because you might not admit it, but I believe you're making a comeback. And I think you probably haven't been this fit or dedicated towards your training for quite a while. So I'll throw that same question back at you.
I really appreciate that. So the first half of this year was not a paddling strong period. I had my second child bear in November last year, so I really didn't paddle much. My family was really sick through the middle part of the year, and I really actually started training for this in June. We, as South African Surf Ski, organised some really great tours in Mauritius, and I spent 2.5 weeks doing downwinds in Mauritius, and that really just sparked the fire for me. I love paddling downwind. I think my ultimate passion in life has been chasing wind. I absolutely thrive off it. I think I'm more comfortable in the ocean and big conditions than I am on land, that's for sure. And I think June trips to Mauritius really sparked that fire inside to get me back into the mix. And since then, I have prioritized the things that make me tick as a person. I think I haven't prepared for World specifically in a very athletic way. I haven't had a structured training program or anything like that. I've just tried to get out with my family and work and business, and just get out on the ocean as much as possible and have as much fun. So this little section of ocean behind me here is my local downwind run. I work 16 k's up the coast, and wherever possible I pop out of work and get a paddle in on the first section of the Southwest course that we're going to be racing on Sunday, which is going to be really exciting for me. I know it well, it's my backyard. In terms of my preparation, I've been getting in plenty of downwinds and kind of throwing a Russian roulette in the fact that we're going to have wind. Yep. I think if it was dead flat, I would be very uncomfortable right now because I just haven't done enough homework in those conditions. Yeah. But I've done lots of downwind. I've been having lots of fun prepping for this. I haven't done a huge amount of miles, but I think I've done enough miles to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that for me is the core concept of this stage of my life. I want to have fun. I want to add value to people around me. I'm fit enough to have a really, really good time on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have any expectations for a position or a result. And that's also a nice place to be. There's no pressure on me. I haven't put any pressure on myself. And I certainly am just going to try and have as much fun as possible. And we'll see what happens.
I think with your skill set, it's just phenomenal. Like, just to paint a picture for people listening in, Barry is coming in and out of the shore breaks at the end of some of these paddles, rescuing people, sometimes in a double ski with an empty back seat, and he is zipping around in those shore breaks, like the most, his most comfortable feeling in the world. I think a couple of weeks ago, didn't you do something for 46 kilometres at 15.6 k's an hour? You just don't see that sort of stuff. So I think your local knowledge and the skill set that you have is actually one of the big strengths of our collaborations together. It makes people feel comfortable out on the water. And I think it'll, serve you really, really well on Sunday when we race on the back of that, motivation and extra fitness that you've got. So I wish you all the best too. And thanks for everything.
Thanks, Ben.
Better go to the team leaders meeting. See you guys.
That's it for episode 7. We'll see you in the next episode. And good luck to everyone racing world. See you soon.
Good luck.